Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Sammons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm joined by Holly Mandel, the founder of I Emergence. Holly helps individuals and organizations develop creativity, authenticity, and confidence through her improvisation and self-awareness. Holly, very warm welcome to Founders Future. I'm very excited to dive into your
I'm excited to also dive into my story with you.
Awesome. Let's do this. So can you take me back to what it was that you was doing before you started up the company? And then from there, what prompted you to jump into the coaching world?
Yes. So I started off taking improvisation in Los Angeles at a very well-known school called the Groundlings. A lot of famous people have come there, like Will Ferrell, Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy. I knew them and I got to play with them. But that to me was more of my hobby, and I was going to be in the corporate world in advertising and creativity. And I noticed that the tools I was using in my work at my companies were the skills that I was learning from improv. They were so valuable. They made
Okay.
me very present. They made me a good team player. I could pivot. We'd walk into a meeting and they'd go, "Hey, we changed the thing." And me and my team would be like, "Fine." And everybody else would be like, "Wait, we need time." And so it just stuck in my head that, oh, improv is for a lot more than just performing. Yeah, but I performed and then I dropped my corporate life and I got to be a full-time improviser and performer for many years, but I never really stopped teaching or loving teaching. Cut to moving to New York, and I started teaching classes, and the people that were coming to me were actually people in the business sector, or as we call the normals, not
Yeah.
professional actors.
Perfect.
And they really wanted to use improv just for self-development, confidence. They wanted to get better at what they were doing. So I felt, oh, there's an opportunity here that I'd like to invest in and see about translating improv for people who may not ever want to take it to perform.
Okay, I like that. So helping them really bring out the best in people and just learning to navigate through the world and the
Yes.
world of business mainly.
And definitely the world of business. I find with business, and I'm sure you've had a lot of conversations with people that, you're good at some things, but not good at other things. You have to be very adaptable, probably now more than ever. And I feel like it's very hard to develop yourself. You might even get put on a PIP program, but actually, like, how do you address your own development or a team's development? We also work mainly with teams, and getting a
Okay.
team to work together is different than a bunch of individuals being really good at their job.
100%. Team aspect is hard because everyone obviously comes on it with a different page. Communication is key, individuality is key, but emerging that all as one is so important for success moving forward. Like
I
with
think so.
business or with art, like
Yeah,
sports, look at
yeah.
everything.
Sports,
They all
everything,
matter.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's dive into the business a little bit more so listeners can have some context moving forward.
Sure.
So who would you say is that you love to work with the most? And then from there, how is it you help and support them? What offers do you provide to them?
So me and my team really actually love working for people who are open to new ways of working together. The
Mm,
companies that tend to bring us back, we do things from pharma, big pharma companies, advertising
okay.
agencies, law firms, consulting firms, healthcare and hospitals have been using us a lot lately. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're noticing a lot of lack of empathy.
Okay.
Things have gotten to be very business
Yeah.
and so a lot of surveys have said, I just felt no one really cared about me, and the hospitals are like, that's terrible. So
Mm,
also, like, how do you get a group to develop empathy? That's such a fascinating question. So it's really the industry isn't as doesn't matter to us as much as I think the why. What does the company want to do and what do they want to get better at? And we just love being able to help people who really do want to change.
yeah, I really love that. And then, so in terms of the size of the team, is there like a minimum or a maximum amount that you work with, or does that just completely depend on the company and if you find they're a good fit?
That's a great question. In the beginning, we were only trying to replicate what a classroom might look like. So one facilitator for 12. But then
Yeah.
we were getting requests for 200, 300, and we just like, oh, we got to figure this out. So we created a format that works actually for any size.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the biggest we've done to date is 700 people.
Wow, 700 in one room, or is this all done like
Yeah,
online?
in one room. And there's things that we have to do differently, obviously, for that size. But we've figured out that if you go through a certain progression, it almost doesn't matter.
Okay, fair enough.
Size.
And
Yeah.
does most of this happen in person, or does it work online as well?
Yeah, luckily the pandemic taught us that you can do it online, and we were surprised. We thought we're going to get a 3-year vacation, but we could do it online. So for sure, especially if people's work is online or they're hybrid, there actually
Okay.
are certain tools that people can use to get better at that. We of
Yeah.
course prefer in person, but there's a way to do it.
Okay, amazing. So it works on both sides. It can be adapted and moving on from there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, so typically, how long is the process? Or how long will you immerse yourself in a company and then perform this, or is it a one-off?
Yeah, we do one-offs all the way to a series of 5 is usually
Okay.
is standard. 5, of course, gets you a little bit more immersed in their culture.
Yeah.
And I think if the people that are involved in the program want bigger change, then longer is obviously better. But we've had pretty remarkable results from just a one-off, especially for companies that are like onboarding or merging teams, or there's been an acquisition and there needs to be like a reset. We all need to get on the same page. And so what we like to say is there's a language of agreement. Improv is
Okay.
really actually based on agreement. And if we can get a whole group of people to just go, oh, these are sort of the principles to create a productive conversation, then it helps kick things off.
Yeah, okay. I enjoy that a lot. When it goes to about acquiring customers, how are you finding your success? So where are you going to generate traffic?
Yeah, it's an ever-changing thing. For a very long time, people were just finding us. There's
Okay.
more, I think, improv business companies now than there have been. But in the
Mm,
beginning, we were, I think, probably one of the first. I started the company in 2011, and I had to learn myself how to talk to companies about improv because they're like, we
yeah.
don't want to do a comedy class. And so I had to learn how to talk about the results a lot
Mm,
more. Word of mouth is really good for us. We are finding LinkedIn is very helpful, especially in making relationships with people. And I write a lot of articles on LinkedIn because I
okay.
want to also give people a chance at their own pace to kind of read and learn and go, oh, I never thought improv would be good, for instance, and with confidence. Like
Yeah,
there's a real connection between the two.
I can see that. Yeah, because as you were saying before, it allows you to pivot, it allows you to have a natural conversation and not feel like you have to stick regimented because you know every angle it can go, you can navigate yourself through it.
That's exactly it. I noticed that in myself, even. I would get nervous at, but what if this happens? But what if this happens?
Yeah,
Then that actually starts to become exciting because then you're
yeah,
like, I can really respond to what's happening.
exactly that. And it was even saying before with your confidence, because then you never go into a conversation without having an answer, even if you don't know what that answer is. It's like you feel confident in yourself that you can get through it.
That's right. Totally.
Awesome. So LinkedIn's been great success. Do you do targeting on LinkedIn, or have you got run any form of ads, or is it just mainly like natural traffic coming from the blogs and posts?
It's a little bit of natural traffic. We are very interested in some, maybe doing some AI based connections,
Okay.
meaning helping us make connections and starting conversations off. AI is a very interesting tool. I feel like there's a lot of benefits to it, and I think as long as our personality comes through, I can always tell when I get an AI message, that's not a human.
Improv in that.
There's no improv in that. That's right. So I think it's a nice collab.
Yeah.
And then doing ads is something on Google and search engines and that whole world you have to do. But I think,
So do you run them on Google as well, or is it,
yeah,
or not so much? Yeah. And how do you
yeah.
find them? Is it working well for you?
It's working well for us. It's working
Yeah.
well for us. I think we're learning how to speak that language. I think that's really the key is like all these tools are there to help you, but if you just throw money at it and not be engaged, I think you're just burning money. But I'm still luckily interested. I'm nerdy enough to be like, what does that number mean? And so I think if you're engaged and you understand it's trying to help you,
Yes.
then
Eh,
those things like are supplement. They shouldn't be your only thing.
No, 100%. You need to have other assets coming through, but they are great to bring in some consistency with the ads. I feel like is what a lot of people say when I speak to them on the podcast. You have the several funnels, the ads just bring in a little bit more when maybe the word of mouth isn't available or the referrals aren't coming in or the organic slightly slower. That's why
That's
you
right.
need several at once.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think so. And then just because this is about founders and maybe giving advice to other founders that are struggling, I think if anyone's a founder of a company, you know your business better than anyone else. And so I think I had to learn take everything with a grain of salt. Everyone's trying to help you, but they did it the way they did it. And I would sometimes throw the baby out with the bathwater and follow what they would do and then follow what somebody else would do. And founders have to have a real trust in their own navigation system. And oh, that sounds like that's great for you. I just don't feel like that would work for me. And that has value.
Yeah, and there's definitely different avenues to take as well. So as you're saying, what might not work for somebody else might work for you. So it's just finding your feet, finding your nature, taking help, taking advice, and pivoting, I think is a big one as well.
Exactly.
Not a lot of
Yeah.
people pivot quick enough.
That's an interesting conversation. And I feel like it's really interesting because I feel like I pivot too much. So what I've had to learn to do is give it 3 months, give it 6 months. I know that's not
Yeah.
what you meant exactly, but it's a balance, right? You have to
Yeah.
pivot in some places, and in other places, it's like, would you give it a sec?
Yeah, no, I agree. There's certain things like give it time to settle in, like with the offer and everything, making sure it's there. But generally, like when it comes to when I speak to people about marketing, and it didn't take off after I was spending £1,000 a month on ads or $1,000 a month. I'm like, did you try at 30? And if it didn't work at 30, it's not going to work at 2,000. That's when you need to reevaluate yourself and move forward from there.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
so when it comes to the sales process or even onboarding client, do you have a sales team that you help with at the moment? Do you run on sales calls? What does that side of it look like for you?
Yeah, so I have a fantastic colleague, partner. She, for now, is in charge of sales. I think we're bringing on a second person to do a little more prospecting for us.
Okay.
But she's great at nurturing clients that we already have. She's got great relationships with people. She's very warm. We pride ourselves on being very authentic.
Mm.
We know what it's like to get sold to, and we never want to be that gross with people. And so we try very hard just to be as, yeah, authentic as we possibly can. And so, yeah, we get a lot of requests for information and we get on calls with people. And the thing that I really pride our company on is everything's customized. I know that
Okay.
there's probably more money to be made if you just do a cut and paste and just send everybody the same proposal, but we just don't feel the results are ever going to be the same. So we take a little bit more time, but it takes more time.
Yeah, I can understand that. And then again, as founders, it's like there's more time, more clients, more pressure, more sales calls. When do we hire? When do we expand? When do we scale? When do we?
Yeah,
So many questions and so many
so
answers.
many questions. Yes, yes.
So, what are your plans moving forward? How do you have a specific like target or goal that you're looking to reach with this? How far are you looking to take it?
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard of EOS. Have you heard of EOS?
EOS,
Yeah,
I
there's
think.
a book called Traction, and it's new to me, but it's called EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. It
Okay.
is a whole process, and it's really useful. And I would say to any founder, they call it like how to break out of the ceiling. So you've been doing
Mm,
what you've been doing, you've probably been wearing 10 hats and doing all the things, and you feel like this is as far as I can take it as it is, but I don't know how to grow. So this is
mm.
one of the systems out there that I just really highly recommend. It really has shifted my thinking, so we're in the process of actually implementing a lot of the procedures so we can grow in a very
Okay.
smart way. So one of my goals is just to implement that more.
Okay.
Second thing, which is a dream of mine, is I feel as the visionary and creative person who could come up with ideas till the end of time, I would love to, by the end of 2026, have whatever president, COO, they call it an integrator, just the person whose job is to make things happen. I just feel my potential as a leader is a little stunted by having to then always be worried about how it's all happening. So that to me is like a little Christmas present I want to give myself next year.
So to pull yourself out and work on the business rather than it is essentially what you're saying. You're at that level, as you said you've been before. And again, it happens to a lot of founders because you do jump into a world and you know what I'm good at improv, I'm good at this, I'm good at health and fitness, but I might not be good at everything else. And then all those hats start to bumble up and that ceiling approach is quite quick.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
And I don't think people think it's due to the fact that you're not pulling yourself out. I think
Mm,
oh, I got to get in there more. I got to spend more hours.
mm,
But it's like, actually, no, you're, like you said, you need to be in
trust.
the area that you're great at and let somebody else do, because I'm not bad at it, but it's not my specialty.
Yeah. You live in your area of genius is what you need. So where is the biggest challenge in making that happen?
I think it's priorities. It's
Okay.
like there's a long list of things, and it's knowing what needs to happen before. Like, we need to make a certain amount of revenue before I can justify that salary. Or do I invest in it so that we can grow? It's the chicken or egg.
What comes first?
That's a real interesting thing. And maybe the answer is there is no right way. You just got to try one of the ways. But somewhere in me, I'm like, I think it'll just feel like it's the time when it's the time.
Yeah, people might do, or it's maybe have to provoke the time a little bit. And I say if you can bring in more traffic, more consistency, then you have that excess cash to give you that wage moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. That feels more comfortable than let's spend money that we're not sure we have.
There you go.
Oh,
And Holly, as a final question to you before we log off,
yes.
if you could go back to a younger self, maybe before this whole improvisation journey started and we jumped into the coaching world, and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice, but that you know now, but that you didn't know then, what would you say to yourself?
Knowing that I would take this path, but I hadn't started it yet.
Yes.
First thing that comes to mind is value what you have and know and protect it a little bit more.
Okay.
Meaning, I used to undervalue pricing wise what I did. I would
Okay.
undervalue, yeah, it just was like, oh, if I'm doing it, can't be that great.
Mm.
Not realizing that everybody who has a gift probably feels that way about their gift. They don't see it in the way that the outside
Mhm.
sees it. So I would say know that you're not great at everything, but you're really great at these things, and that means something.
Yeah, and you're very true. It happens to a lot of people, especially founders. It's hold your value, tell people how great you are. And the right people will try to track that as well. So it's better for everybody.
I
It's just
agree.
sometimes an outside perspective that locks that in for you, you know?
It's true. And I think women tend to do it more than men from what I've seen.
Definitely.
And so I do think, like you're saying, women have to help each other. Actually, it was a woman who told me I was undercharging.
Good.
She said, send this back and double the
Girl
price.
power. Girl power.
I
There
was
you go.
like, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, girl power moving forward. I love that.
Uh,
So, Holly, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can the listeners reach out to work with you or connect with you if they would like to
oh,
do?
thanks, Olivia. This was really great. My website is I Emergence with an I for improv. It's I and Emergence. So imergenceusa.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Holly Mandel. Not Howie, but Holly.
Not Howie, Holly, Holly Mandel,
Yes,
and I Emergence moving
yes,
forward.
yes.
Perfect. And thank you again for joining me today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from zero to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep climbing and we will see you on the next one.